going backwards, you know.
Yeah, it's fine.
We started in 96, so just over 20 years now. What's really special for us to be able to start this farm is that we were both vegetarians. I was a very strict vegan when we started the farm, and one of the purposes was to be able to produce meat and eggs in an environment that I felt comfortable with. Hey guys.
Can I pet one?
Can I pet one? Here, let me pull this up. Now the reason the radio is on is because it helps them to get used to the human voice, because they're in here kind of isolated when they're young. So it's helpful if they can hear voices and then they're not scared. And then they also like Top 40, which is, hello! See, feel how warm that is under there? We were both working for the Forest Services in wildlife biology, and I think that every day we just wanted to go home and work on our little farmette that we had. And I think that we knew that if we got too involved in our careers as biologists, that we wouldn't end up being farmers. And being new farmers, you require a lot of energy, a lot of just, I can try anything, I can do anything kind of attitude. Oh, is this this is where the PBR is! Shame, organic farmer. What am I looking for?
This is when I take the cameras and I throw them on the ground.
And it helps to be young and energetic to do that kind of shit. You don't want to be old and jaded and start a farm. So we decided to give up our Forest Service jobs and come out here and start the farm. I had this beautiful bull calf named Cal Drogo. It was the sexiest cow ever.
Cal Drogo.
And then there was Tyrion. Tyrion was horrible. Tyrion was right up there with his name. He was always getting into trouble. And he'd get his head stuck in a bucket or get his head stuck in the feeder. He was such a dork. And that's one reason why we chose to move to Ithaca, because I came out from the West Coast. So we came back to this community because of the balance, because it's a really conscientious community as far as what their food sources. So I knew we'd have a good market if we wanted to do, really specific crops. This would be a place where we could sell it. I'm not going into town all that much, so it's my social hour as well, So it's my opportunity to connect with my customers, an opportunity to see other human beings, which is always good, and then to be able to sell things directly, really hand it right to them.
I like everything, especially the prepared foods, but also the fresh vegetables and fruits, depending on what's in season.
The food is good, the company's good. There's a philosophy that you feel, so.
Well, this isn't like a grocery store.
People use it that way though, like all the vegetables and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, people go grocery shopping here every week.
Well, we have over 160 small businesses that sell here throughout the week and throughout the year. So that really contributes a lot to the local economy, whether it's people spending money at these businesses and then these businesses going to spend money in town to pick up supplies, or whether it's the businesses here actually hiring employees to work at the market or at their other business locations.
Thank you, sir. Do you need a bag for that? No, I'm all set. Enjoy.
It's a vital part of the Ithaca community. It's part of the relationship between farm and city.
I have a medium bag.
A medium
Would you accept a medium bag?
This type of direct-to-consumer avenue for farms and for artisans and for chefs really gives those businesses the opportunity to promote how they're producing their food, and it gives consumers who are wanting to choose sustainable options a chance to better understand how those farmers are employing those options.
What's your name?
My name's Michael. I'm Patrick. Patrick, howdy. Take a card if you want.
When you are, every week, sometimes in the summer 3 times a week, you're interacting with your customers. And then you find yourself back on the farm. The connection between that chicken's health or that pig's health is, there's sort of like a direct connection to the person who you know, whose face or name or maybe something about their life and family you know, perhaps know well, and you realize, oh, well, you know, that's kind of, their pork chops may be coming out of that pig. So this is an old-fashioned variety. All pigs can be pretty clever, but these ones keep me amused. I think that's the biggest thing is the really good quality of the pork when they're raised well. I mean, they have to be raised with, you know, living turf underneath them and sunshine shining down on them, and live a really low stress life. And pigs raised in a box are perpetually anxious. You know, they're constantly experiencing cortisol and adrenaline coursing through their bloodstreams, the byproducts collecting in their fat.
When someone comes to my stall and said, well, I can go to Wegmans and I can buy that chicken for $2 a pound, I was like, absolutely you can't. Because I bred the chicken and I hatched the chicken and I raised the chicken and then I butchered the chicken and I brought you the chicken. You can't buy that anywhere else. So it's a completely different product to me. So as you can see, they're totally free range right now. I'm just letting the flock do whatever the hell they want. Hey girls. I mean, there's so many things going to be in your way. There's so many things stopping people from farming. They access to land, access to money, access to markets, just education to be able to do it. But I can't encourage people enough to just stick their neck out and try it, because that's the only way it's going to work.
I once heard a colleague, friend of mine, say trying to run a small permaculture farm and survive is like trying to thread a needle. Well, someone's spraying a fire hose at you. Yeah, we live in a capitalist, highly regulated capitalist environment. And so any other farm that has a lot more equipment, structures, land, pasture, has a competitive advantage over me. Direct marketing is in some ways necessary for this farm because we're so small. There's no way I could earn anything close to a living if I was selling my hogs wholesale. In fact, I would probably lose money the way I raise them here. You know, on one hand, it's helpful to keep them well socialized to being around humans. But, like for this one who's looking a little frisky, you want a belly rub? Is that what you want? It gets tricky when they're 300 pounds. I know, you want a belly rub, or you want a wrestle. You don't know what you want.
I also want to see more organic land be put into production in my living area. You know, this is my environment, and so the more acreage that I can see in organic production, the better and healthier my whole environment is.
Everybody wants to get out of the mud. They're all done with it season.
We also really try to think about sustainability from a market standpoint. So thinking about the trash that we're putting into the system here, and thinking about opportunities to promote sustainable businesses here as well. What folks have found is that when people spend money locally, it tends to stay in the local community.
This community is really interested in helping each other. It's really interested in supporting and teaching the next generation and keeping that going. It's less of a competitive kind of thing. Like a lot of businesses where you're very competitive with other growers or other suppliers. We, on the other hand, are more interested in helping one another. So I've definitely seen it grow over the years.
A huge amount of the reason people come back is that they feel cared for and that they have a relationship with the person who's selling.
What's cool is that the getting to know your farmer thing is happening and just starting in other communities across the country and across the state. So some of our neighboring communities are really starting to take off and follow kind of the Ithaca trend.
Ithaca used to be a lot more unique than it is now. I mean, I think that the types of towns that are interested in these things and people getting more and more educated about their food sources, that's growing. Long term, I think, especially in this area, that things are very good. There's a lot of good growers and there's a lot of young people interested in doing it. And farming has become, it's not hip per se, but it's a lot cooler than it used to be.
He's trying to jump. I'm like, homeboy, Say hi.
Yawns.